Hi, this is Matt with Custom Car Grills. This video will show how we modify a 1996 through 98 4Runner grill. The first step is to cut out the inner vertical and horizontal bars. An open-ended saw blade usually works well for me. I like to make the cuts close to the edge so that later on there will be less sanding. At the same time though, I don't want to cut too close because then we might risk cutting deep into the plastic. The little tabs at the bottom corners require some special attention. With these, I'll try and leave as much of the tab as possible while still detaching the bar from it. Then, with the side of the horizontal bars, I left a little extra room. It's a bit tricky dealing with that curve in such a short opening. I had to try a few different angles while cutting all the way through the main center bar, but it's not difficult. When getting near the lower tabs, I'm going to slow down so I don't cut into the tab itself. Once all done, the center section should just drop right out. Now we're left with a few nubs that will need to be sanded down. One of the quickest and easiest ways to remove the bulk of these is with a Dremel. I'm using their sanding drum that has a coarse grip to it, and it's making short work of this. Just like with the saw blade, it's best to not go too deep into the plastic. The sides will take a little longer since we have more material there to grind off. Again, I'm taking my time when I'm near the lower corner tab because we want to keep that in as good a condition as possible. There are some V-notches in the sides because the horizontal bars are hollow. We're going to be fixing those up in the next step. I'm going to add a mesh backing to these openings. These will be temporarily held in place with some tape. The mesh will act as a barrier for the plastic repair material so that it has something to hold on to while it's curing. A variety of meshes or materials could be used for this step. As a filler, I'm using Valvoline's Plyo-Grip Plastic Repair No. 3, but other body filler products such as Bondo should work fine. To use the Plyo-Grip, I'm attaching a mix tube and dispensing gun and applying a fair amount of the product in and around the V-notches. I didn't have a squeegee handy, so I'm using a piece of cardboard to spread the material around. There are a couple areas I missed between the notches that need to be filled, so I made a second pass before moving on. While this cures, I'm going to start sanding the top and bottom edges. For the coarse grit paper that's going to remove some material, I'm using 100 grit. Later, I'll tone this down to 200 grit, and then for some smoothing out before paint, I'll use a 400 grit paper. Depending on how the grill shell will be painted, using something finer may be needed in order to hide any scratch marks. Power tools can be used for this step, but attention to detail is important here so that we don't sand off too much. Now that the Plyo-Grip is cured, it's safe to start sanding it. The more filler that was added at the beginning means that there will be more that needs to be sanded off later. There's a tough balance between too much and not enough. When the sanding is complete, there should be a nice, smooth edge where the bars were. We're trying to make this as OEM looking as possible. The next step is to paint the whole frame. Using a good primer and quality paints will get the best results. For this specific project, we ended up using a flat black finish on the frame. It's a really popular color right now, and flat paints will help conceal some imperfections better than a gloss paint will. Color matching the body color of the vehicle is also a good choice for something like this. Now onto the mesh piece we have for sale on our website. This is a pre-cut and pre-bent mesh piece that will drop onto the back of the grill after being modified like what I previously showed. There are cutouts made to allow for a little flex in the mesh since there's a slight curve to the stock grill. Larger cutouts have also been made to accommodate for the top mounting tabs. As far as fitting the mesh on the frame, it should be easily laid on the back of the opening. From there, some minor adjusting of the top and bottom tabs may be needed so that it's making contact with the plastic of the grill frame. Minor adjustments to the left and right side may also be needed depending on how much filler was used. To temporarily hold the mesh to the frame, I'm going to use some cable ties and foam. The foam will help protect the painted surface from the tension of the cable tie. and the cable tie will help hold the mesh up close to the front of the opening so that we have a nice clean look. It's important not to under or over tighten the ties. The mesh needs to be snug against the back of the opening, but tightening too much will distort the shape of the frame. Here's how it should look with all the ties in place. It's only important for this mod that the top and bottom edges be tight. Tying the left and right sides will usually not be needed. To adhere the mesh to the grill frame, I'm using automotive goop. In order to apply the goop, I'm using a toothpick. This will help with any hard to reach areas such as the top edge. This adhesive works really well because it'll bond mixed materials together strongly while also remaining slightly flexible. Goop does take a long time to cure, in some cases up to a full 24 hours. It's also important to note that I'm keeping a small distance from the edge closest to the opening. I don't want any adhesive to spill through the front. Once it's fully cured, it's time to cut the ties off and remove the foam. Now that the mod is complete, we've got a great new grill that looks factory fresh. The overall process to finish this isn't that hard, but some attention to detail is needed in order to get it just right. While we did use a 96 through 98 grill, these will also fit on the 99 through 02 4Runners as well. Also, these can be left plain, such as in this version, or retro emblems can be added either in white or in other colors such as this black emblem. And there's also larger lettering options available as well, along with smaller letter plates. And no matter which configuration, there really are no bad choices. I hope you liked this video. Feel free to contact us if you have any questions about this video or any of our others.